Welcome to this explainer. Okay, today we're taking something that, let's be honest, usually puts people right to sleep. We're talking about a dense, multi-page legal document that absolutely nobody actually reads before clicking accept. But we're going to transform it into a clear, visual roadmap. Specifically, we're diving into the exact terms and conditions you agree to when shipping with InstaKart Services Private Limited. Because look, whether you're shipping one package a month or literally 1,000 a day, these terms, they dictate your financial life. So let's make some sense of them.
To really grasp why this matters, let's look at a real-world example. Imagine a digital receipt generated on July 12, 2026. Over at the Budvahar hub, a seller named SS Digital India received a digital proof of delivery. This little handshake, which was verified through a one-time code on the SUV portal, confirmed 3 returned shipments. Now here's the kicker. The exact moment that code was verified, it didn't just log 3 boxes. It triggered a massive cascade of binding legal terms.
And this scenario begs a really critical question for any seller operating today. What specific rules, liabilities, and hidden costs legally govern the life cycle of your package? Like what actually happens when it leaves your hands, and worst, what happens when it comes back?
To answer that, we're going to follow the life cycle of a package through 5 key stages. First, decoding the jargon. Then, the rules of the box, understanding your liability limits, the return to origin trap, and finally, your responsibilities as a seller.
All right, let's jump right into step 1, decoding the jargon.
We have to start with Clause 2, which defines a waybill. Now, a waybill isn't just that sticky shipping label you slap on a box. Legally speaking, any manually or automatically generated proof of dispatch serves as the waybill. And the very second it's generated, it automatically incorporates all the terms and conditions we're talking about today. It is your binding contract, no way around it.
Building right on top of that, Clause 3 introduces this really fascinating industry standard. It's called the said-to-contain basis. Basically, this means Instacart is under absolutely zero obligation to look inside your box or verify what you claim is in it. They're just taking your word for it. But wait, this isn't them doing you a favor. It's actually a complete transfer of risk. It means factual accuracy is 100% your responsibility right from the get-go. Okay, moving on to Section 2. Let's talk about the rules of the box. So, now that the paperwork and definitions are out of the way, what are the strict, totally non-negotiable rules for actually packing your box before it ever leaves your hands? Well, Clauses 7 and 8 provide a very strict list of prohibited items. You can't just ship anything. If you try to ship cash, passports, credit or debit cards, share certificates, or hazardous materials, boom, you are immediately in violation of the agreement. They also specifically mention that your consignment must not contain any communication that infringes the Indian Postal Act of 1983 or, any items restricted by aviation or railway authorities.
Furthermore, you've got Clauses 12 and 20, which highlight some absolutely critical delivery exceptions that you need to plan for. First off, consignments addressed to a postbox number, they cannot be delivered at all. Second, if you're shipping to ministry offices or central government offices in New Delhi, the packages are simply dropped into a box for security reasons. And here is the catch you really need to watch out for. They do this without taking any proof of delivery acknowledgement from the consignee. So you send it, but you will never get a signature confirming it actually arrived. Wild, right?
That brings us to Section 3, understanding your liability limits.
So once your legally compliant box is actually in transit, who's financially on the hook if things go sideways? Well, Clause 9 drops a massive reality check. Instacart's maximum liability for any loss or damage to your consignment will not exceed 5,000 rupees. Period. That's it. Clause 10 says you must declare the value of your consignment at booking. But if that value is high and needs greater protection, it's entirely on you, the consignor, to ensure it.
And honestly, this brilliantly illustrates the imbalance of a standard courier contract. While Instacart's liability is strictly capped at 5,000 rupees and can be completely voided by force majeure events like floods, accidents, or government confiscation under Clause 14, your liability is totally uncapped. Clauses 21 and 22 explicitly require you to fully indemnify and hold Instacart harmless against any loss or damage arising from your failure to comply with regulations or, say, provide the right documents.
Additionally, when it comes to what you're actually paying, Part 2, Clause 1 aggressively protects the courier from any pricing arguments. It states that you're charged based on deadweight or volumetric weight, whichever is higher, and that's billed to the next higher half or 1 kilogram. And the final weights? They're marked solely by the company. If you disagree, you have to sort it out before final delivery. The contract bluntly states, no post-delivery weight disputes will be entertained. In other words, the scale is final and your arguments are politely, legally ignored.
Now for Section 4, what I called the return to origin trap.
Let's move to the climax of our package's journey. Let's see how this all builds up when a delivery fails and enters the dreaded return to origin, or RTO phase. Now, you might assume that if a package couldn't be delivered, it enjoys the same minimal protections on the journey back to you. Well, if you think your package is protected on the way back, think again. Part 2, Clause 9 explicitly states, in case of reverse pickup, we shall not take any responsibility of any damage to the consignment. So if it breaks on the way back, that loss is entirely yours. Tough luck.
Reading Part 2, Clause 5 verbatim really highlights the strictness of this contract. It literally forces you to pay return charges without a single complaint. It literally says that for any consignment returned back to origin for any reason whatsoever, it will be chargeable and you are liable for the payment without raising any objections or disputes whatsoever. The courier absolutely holds all the cards in a return scenario.
Finally, Section 5. Your responsibilities as a seller. So knowing these uncompromising rules, these absolute caps on liability, and the very real risks of return trips, how can you practically protect your business before dispatching your next order? Based on Clauses 11, 19, and 22, this checklist is your legal shield. First, Clause 22 dictates you must prepare the consignment in secure premises and protect it from unauthorized interference. Second, Clause 11 demands you pack it properly to withstand carriage handling. Third, Part 2, Clause 3 requires at least 2 copies of the invoice to facilitate delivery. And finally, Clause 19 mandates you include all respective state forms prescribed by the Government of India for sales tax and VAT. If you miss even one of these steps, you breach the warranty and assume all liability.
You know, InstaKart explicitly notes in Part 2, Clause 6, it is expressly understood and confirmed by you that we are merely a service provider to you. They move the box, you carry the legal burden. So the ultimate question I want to leave you with is this. Next time you click Ship, generate a waybill, and hand over a package, are you truly prepared for the total financial and legal responsibility you've just accepted? Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and stay focused out there.